I have about 35,000 in student loans, and I'm weighing investing more I think a Roth versus paying off the debt faster. That's the fundamental point of his question. Priorities. What should I prioritize? Now, if you're a Dave Ramsey fan, the answer is clear. It's the student loans. Once you've saved $1,000 sort of emergency fund, according to Dave, everything goes to debt except your mortgage. That comes later in his plan. I'm not a fan of that strategy. Certainly, if you have high interest debt, think credit card debt at 25% or something. Yeah, you need to tackle that and quick. But for most folks, student loans are relatively lower interest rates. And depending on the amount, now in this case, Jordan has 35,000. It could take a long time. Some of you have six figures in student loans. You could literally be a decade or more doing nothing but paying your student loans and foregoing a company match at a 401, with your 401k, investing what you can in a Roth IRA every year. I think that is a huge, huge mistake. So for me, there are a number of things that I personally would prioritize over paying any extra on a student loan. Of course, you're going to make your minimum payments. But unless you've got a student loan with really high interest rates, I would, of course, prioritize not just $1,000, but a full emergency fund. I would prioritize maxing out a 401k at least enough to get the company match if you have that. I would prioritize maxing out, for most folks, a Roth IRA. And there could be other priorities important to you, like saving for a child's education or maybe saving a down payment for a home that I personally would prioritize over paying extra on a student loan. And that's particularly true if you've got a low rate student loan, or you're working on a payment plan where eventually there'll be some loan forgiveness down the road. I mean, that to me is a no-brainer. You wouldn't start paying that off, paying extra on that kind of debt. So, I'm all for getting out of debt. I think managing your debt is extremely important. But for me, I think there are a number of other priorities, like I've outlined, that if I were in that situation today, and I was back in the day, I had plenty of student loans, I prioritized a lot of things over paying them off. And in fact, I graduated from law school in the early 90s with student loans that in today's dollars would probably come out to about 150 grand. And I was probably 15, 17 years before I had paid those all off. Again, I could have paid them off earlier, but I had other priorities that I thought were more important. So that's my take on it, Jordan. Hopefully you find that helpful.